It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Excuse me, the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. We've got two races left today. The first is the Porsche Sprint Challenge, followed by race 2 for Radical Cup. This is race 1 for Porsche Sprint Challenge, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe Peak, who is the series announcer, and Ashley Freiberg, who is a competitor in a sister series of these Porsches on the East Coast.
Thank you very much, Dick. Yes, welcome here to Laguna Seca for race number 6 here, race number 8 actually, I believe, for the USA West Series Porsche Sprint Challenge by Yokohama. And it is race time now as we get out on track. I'm Joe Peak here with Ashley Freiberg. And we have an interesting one before us with a track that is looking like it lacks grip, and it's already hard to pass. I think it's going to make track position so key today, Ashley.
Yes, as we learned yesterday in qualifying, the different feeling of the cars with the different rubber laid down was something that affected quite a few drivers. So it is a little bit warmer today as well, so I think this will be an exciting race.
Absolutely will. Sharing the weekend with IndyCar here. It's been a lot of excitement out on track, but these drivers tend to put on a good show, so we're ready for even more on this one. As we said, qualifying has already happened yesterday, and now they get onto the track for the first time today. As for that qualifying order for today's race, that is going to see us with a field of about 22 cars out there, 22, 23 vehicles going to be on the circuit for what is a relatively short lap compared to what they've had recently in this series. So let's go through that starting order. And as we go through the 992s, it begins with Blake McDonald on the pole once again, but James Lee is giving him a run for his money on the outside of that row. Kevin Woods going to be starting in third position with Casey Dennis next to him. Kevin going to be our pole sitter for the Masters. Then you get on to the next row with James Safronis starting in fifth position. Sam Parnagian in P6. And that is then followed by row number 4 that sees Jim Walsh flanked by Laura Eli. After that, you go back to Josh Conley with Kyle Washington next to him to round out our top 10 for today's race, as Patrick Mulcahy will begin in 11th and Ryan Holcron will begin in P number 12. Then you get newcomer to the series, Joel Cortez, going to be starting in 13th. Jay Barron will be next to him. A little bit far down for our next driver, Luke French, in the 215, as he'll start in 15th position. Steve Miller next to him in the 217 car, P16. After that, it's Thomas Hacker starting in the 17th, and his debut in this series, Mark Krigler, in the 284 for our 18 992s. What about our Caymans, Ashley?
Starting on pole, we have Eli Kogan, who's had a dominant season so far, leading the championship alongside Michael Gawkey in P2. Richard Kinsey will be starting third today with Greg Urbach on the outside in fourth, and then we will have Rod Wagner starting in fifth.
So slightly smaller field for our Caymans, but still plenty to fight for down there, although Eli has been the one to catch so far on this weekend. Now on their second lap around for warm-up, they're going to be released this time. It is 35 minutes plus 1 lap for this race. No scheduled pit stops out there, so the tires that they're starting on are the tires that they qualified on. And we saw a few drivers, Ashley, that held back a little bit there and didn't set as many qualifying times. I wonder if they'll have a little bit of a jump on their competitors.
Absolutely. If in qualifying you set a couple good laps and you know that you got the most out of the tire, the smart thing to do is to pit and to save the tires for the race, because the race is pretty long. It's 35 minutes plus a lap, so those last 10 minutes or so, if you have the tire under you, you're definitely going to have an advantage.
A big welcome to all of our fans watching here at the track. Glad to have you here for the USA West Series, getting to watch these fantastic drivers in the Porsche Sprint Challenge. Let's hope that we get some good racing out there, as it looks like they are already lined up out of turn 10, heading towards 11. Pace car going to release them. It's going to be a split start between our two types of cars here, the 992 Cup GT3 car and, of course, the Cayman GT4 Club Sport. On to the front row. Here we go. Blake McDonald leading them up to the line as they all stack up in a nice orderly fashion, but it sounds like they're on the loud pedal already, as I can hear them speeding up towards us, but they finally get in the green flag. Blake McDonald now heads towards turn 2 for the braking down into the Andretti hairpin. Will they get through here clean, especially with the tires being so cold and being on a track that is different grip from yesterday? It looks like it is good. A bit of smoke there from somebody around the outside, Ashley, but we're good.
Looked like James Safronis and Kevin Woods going at it a bit there. James taking the lead between those two. Kevin is actually leading in the Masters class right now.
Laura Eli dipping the tires off a little bit, and down in the Caymans we saw that Kogan continues to lead up at the front. That's going to be critical for him. He said not losing that track position will make the difference today, since he has good speed over his rivals. But up here at the top of the field, we watch them head into the treacherous turn 6 as Lee continues to chase. He's got Casey Dennis behind him. Parnagian almost too wide into that turn 6 flick.
Yeah, nice move there by Parnagian into turn 6. Definitely a risky place to make passes, but nice work.
And they swap the lead. It looks like James Lee managing to get through up at the corkscrew. Now the question is, can he hold Blake McDonald back? There you can see now on the screens, McDonald in the bright yellow machine has been bumped down to second, but it is Casey Dennis in an RWE sandwiched on either side of Blake McDonald. In fact, he's already attacking around the outside, and he almost gets his wheel off into the dirt. That's going to cause him to be quite slow down the main straight, and he is going to lose third, I think, to Kevin Woods.
Man, these guys are racing hard right off the bat, dropping wheels.
It certainly looks like they're feisty at the start. I wonder if everybody knows that this is perhaps the best time to try and get those passes done before things settle in and everybody gets into a rhythm. Mid-pack very, very close as well down there. You can see a lot of cars that are close to swapping positions there from what looks to be about 7th on down. And as they come around here on lap number 2, your order up at the top, as we said, Lee, McDonald, Woods. However, Kevin Woods is your leader in the Masters category. Someone going very wide there, and Laura Eli is spinning up through turn 5 all the way back to the tire barrier, unfortunately, and she makes contact. Now the question is, will she be able to get that car moving?
Oh, man, what a tough break there. It looked like she might have got a wheel on the curbing in the brake zone, and when that happens, you just kind of go to a hard brake pedal with your ABS system. So hopefully the car doesn't have too much damage there. She can get out of that.
If she can't move, that's definitely going to be a full course yellow. And there it is right there. As soon as I say it, she is still stranded at turn 5. But that might be her race done early. Only lap 2, unfortunately. As we will slow down, let the race safety team come in and take that car away. Let's take a look at the replay now, see if we can assess it. Now she's side by side going in there. I didn't realize that before. Reinhold Kron, I didn't see any contact. I wonder if maybe just she had moved a little bit too far over to give him space.
Yeah, there was a slight bump side by side. It looked like, I think Reinhold maybe could have given her a little more room because she had both tires in the dirt when she went to the brakes. So that fully explains that scenario there. And that was for position. They are both in the Masters class there. So it'll be interesting to see what the stewards think of that one. Looks like she's potentially back running again, which is very exciting to see. She's running 2nd overall in the points right now. So it's important for her to finish this.
That may have been Kogan's car because I'm looking at the track map and I see the 209 still on the outside of turn 5 unless our timing and scoring is lying to us here. Yep, there she is right there. They're going to try and free her from the gravel pit. We'll see if that car can keep racing. I'm sensing a bit of frustration in her driving, it feels like, because she also had some bad moments in race 2 at Circuit of the Americas, damaged the car at the end. And when I spoke to her, you know, her voice sounded frustrated about that whole scenario. And I wonder if that's still kind of lingering.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I mean, Laura is doing a great job. She's won a championship in the 991 class, going for a championship this year as well in the 992 class, although Kevin Woods has been a strong competitor for her. And when you're pushing the car and you're getting closer and closer to the limit, it's just that much easier to make a mistake. And as a driver, it's easy to kind of let that get in your head too much. So it's definitely just a fine line. So much of driving is mindset. Especially if you're making a mistake, to continue to focus forward and use that lesson as a learning lesson. But also this sport is very expensive, especially when we crash. So that's also something that weighs on all of us. And she, I know, funds a lot of her own driving. I know she's got quite a few sponsors on her car as well. So there's just a lot involved.
Yeah, this is definitely not the way that she would have wanted it to go here. Now, in the Masters, we briefly mentioned that Kevin Woods was currently leading that group. Looks like Jim Walsh is 2nd in the Masters, and then you go down to Reinhold Kron, who was on the side of Laura when that accident happened. He's on the podium right now, but it does look like Casey Dennis had somehow managed to get back past Kevin Woods when we weren't looking, interestingly. So I think looks like Kevin has dropped outside of the overall podium. Won't affect his points that he scores. He's certainly gotten plenty of wins so far in this season. Now, Eli Kogan still leading in the Caymans. He's the only Pro-Am that is racing this weekend, unfortunately. Sean Kelashadi unable to take part after he got involved in an accident. But for the Masters down there, Michael Gawkey doing an excellent job, currently running in 2nd overall in the Caymans, but leading the Cayman Masters right now.
The incident at turn 10 between 2:30.
So hopefully they can pull her out of the sand trap and all things are still good to go, but it's always hard to say from this point of view. Drivers right now just focusing on keeping your tire pressures as warm as possible, as high as possible, staying off of the rubber if you're off the line at all. Remember, we've had plenty of cars driving all day, putting lots of different rubber down. So if you drive offline, there's a lot of marbles there. So you can see a lot of them are still weaving and using those brakes to keep those tire pressures high.
The bad news is it looks like that car is being towed back to pit lane, so I don't think she's going to be able to get driving once again. The race is maybe a bit too short to try and repair it and get back out there. And that's going to be a hard hit points-wise for her. She's been fighting for that 992 Masters with Kevin Woods. Jim Walsh now has an opportunity to steal a march. In fact, Jim has been looking for that first win in Masters all season long with a couple of second places and a number of podium finishes to his name. He's been knocking on the door, but Kevin Woods has been frustratingly consistent in comparison to Jim, hence why Jim currently sits in third in points right now, while Kevin leads. In fact, that gap between the two of them is 64 points between Kevin and Jim. Laura a little closer at about 36 points back from Kevin Woods coming into today's race. But we should be getting going racing pretty soon since they've got that car off the track. In fact, let's see if we are going to be going this time. Nope, we are not. Lights are still on. Pace car going to take it past the start-finish line. We'll watch and see if those lights come off this time by. But not the kind of start that we wanted to see, a quick slowing, especially since it looked like the racing was pretty good there, Ashley.
Yeah, everyone was racing really hard right off the bat. We've had quite a few mix-ups here in terms of the lineup. James Lee really jumped on the start there and took the lead from Blake right off the bat, which was pretty impressive. And like we were talking about earlier, he won both races at COTA, so I'm sure he's really focused on continuing with that streak. He is fighting for the championship with Blake. Casey Dennis, James's teammate as well, so I know that they've got that little team rivalry going on there. Casey just won a championship last year in the 991 class, so really a lot of competition up front. And then Kevin Woods leading the Masters class. There's quite a few drivers in between him and P2, which is really great for him in terms of maintaining the Masters lead.
Sounds like lights are going out on the pace car from what we're hearing from race control. Also, we got a note from them that says incident between cars 232 and 233 is under review. Now that's Reinhold Kron, Kyle Washington. And no, it is Reinhold Kron, excuse me. So Kyle Washington and Reinhold Kron coming together at some point, apparently. Not sure exactly what happened, as I don't recall us seeing it on our screens, but we'll see what the ruling is at the end of the day. They do hand out penalties in these races if they feel you have been racing too aggressively, and especially if you've made contact out there. But right now, Kron sitting, like I said, third in his class. That'll be bad for him if he gets sent to the back, which is where Kyle Washington is right now. Actually 17th and last of our 992 Cup cars that are still running right now. They now fly down out of Rainy Curve and into turn 10 as the pace car will release James Lee, still ahead of Blake McDonald. Can he run away? He got his first win last time at Circuit of the Americas here at Laguna Seca. I think he'd like to continue that trend. He's hard on the throttle, and we go racing as the green flag is out at Laguna Seca once again. It's a pretty good jump across the start-finish line by James over Blake. That should help him down into turn one. Looked like there was a close battle there as well in the mid-pack as they were nose to tail coming down into the Andretti hairpin. Single file for the most part, though, Ashley, as they head through turn three.
Yeah, nice clean start there. Blake McDonald is not letting James get away, though. He had a nice start as well.
Looks like top three kind of separating slightly. A little bit of dust kicked up out of three by some of our drivers. Side by side there, but it looked like Kyle Washington trying to make some passes and get back through. Incident between cars 209 and 233 will be reviewed post-race, we're seeing. That would be Laura and Reinhold. So Reinhold Kron in the midst of a lot of action already in this race.
Yeah, I wouldn't be feeling too good if I was in Reinhold's position right now, but you never know. Once they review the video later, he might be good. But, oh, dive bomb into the corkscrew does not make it sick. Oh, no, that's Josh Conley again. All kinds of action going on back there.
Another car going off all the way into the runoff. 264 car, I think. So Conley going to get it going. And was that Jim Walsh that had that contact there? Just trying to figure out who that was. Nope, that is Walsh continuing on. So he's going to be able to keep going.
Looks like Thomas Hacker is stuck on the outside of the corkscrew there.
So that would be that 264 that I mentioned. Good catch on that, Ashley. Not sure what happened to him because he wrecked before he even got to the incident that was kind of sitting there at the apex. I'm going to guess that we might see another full course yellow. And there went Reinhold Kron. So maybe he was the one involved.
Yeah, either that or that was his drive-through penalty if they told him he needed to serve one because he just continued.
Yeah, we're not seeing any note of a penalty. We've got a replay, it sounds like, of what happened at the top of the corkscrew as the full course yellow is being thrown. So this is what happened. And, ooh, Kyle Washington making contact there as they just crested the hill. Hard to say if that was Kyle getting pinched or if he maybe moved into the side of the 264, but whatever the case, the result is that Hacker wound up off in the kitty litter.
Is on scene with the 264 at turn 8.
So they're going to go retrieve him, and we saw in that replay a little bit of the end of the accident there. How difficult is it to get these cars woed up at the top of the hill, Ashley? Because it's so blind, you're turning and cresting. It seems like it'd be a nightmare to get that car stopped.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tough place to pass as well because the straightaway isn't just straight going up into the corkscrew. It sort of bends a few different times before you even get to the brake zone. So if you're going to make a pass there, you really have to commit to it and be very smart because once you get to the top of the hill, the road flattens out and actually starts to drop a little bit. So timing your braking to where you get the most out of the grip of the track is very important. So if you go to the brake too late there and try to pass at the last second, this is sort of what takes place.
See the 254 in pit lane. Also, good call on Reinhold. I think you were right. We're now getting a message that car 233 has incident responsibility drive-through penalty. So maybe he got that message before we did and like you said, served his drive-through just before we went full course yellow, which actually, I guess that'll work out great for him because this, in a way, erases some of the pain of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's got a lot of work ahead of him. Currently P20, I would believe. He would have to pass quite a few cars here. Hopefully it goes back green again, enough time for him to do so. But it seems there's a lot of aggressive maneuvers going on in this race. So hopefully there's no more car damage or yellow flags after this.
So that was Patrick Mulcahy was the one that we saw getting hit by Conley. And he came through there, and Hacker does not look too pleased about this one. This is only his second race weekend with the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama Series. He's probably hoping to get more and more track time out here and get up to speed with the car since he's coming in partway through the season, and this is not going to help the situation. Plus, now we've got a race tomorrow, Ashley, and that team's going to have to hope that they can fix it in time.
Yeah, I'm sure that team will be up super late tonight to get that car fixed. Hopefully they have all the parts here at the track as well to get the car fixed. Obviously you never know what damage is done until you bring it back to the trailer and you start pulling things apart.
Such a shame for Thomas that he won't really get to run too many green flag laps here in race conditions. Haven't talked about those Caymans all that much, but hasn't a whole lot changed. Eli Kogan still leading Michael Gawkey with Richard Kinsey in third in that class of cars. If you're wondering, if you're here at the track or if you're watching at home, how to tell the difference between the different cars, we have the two classes in the 992s, and you will see the black number plates on the side of the 992 Pro-Ams. for the Masters, and that's for drivers who are 50 years or older by the end of the season. They're going to have blue number plates, except for Eli Kogan, since he's a Pro-Am. He's got a white number plate there on his car for the Cayman Pro-Ams. Everybody else in the Caymans are going to have a yellow number plate on the side for the Cayman Masters category. So if you're watching out there and trying to tell the difference between them as parts are being picked up and cleared from the corkscrew, that's how you get it done. So definitely going to be a few, some parts bills after this race from what we've been seeing so far.
Yeah, unfortunately so. So yeah, hopefully we don't have any more of that moving forward, but it seems everyone's trying to charge to the front here.
Okay, so as we get ready to go racing, hopefully, they're just coming through turn 4 and up towards 5. That should mean that we should be getting racing soon. In fact, they are on the front stretch just in front of us right now, in front of our booth, collecting some debris. Not sure how that got on the front stretch, unless maybe one of the cars that had damage just dropped it there.
264 is being tended to by track services.
There we see shots of that 264 now being pulled away. So not probably going to be going racing quite yet, although they're pretty hurriedly removing it from the track itself up there.
Safety car in field, once again, we're saying drivers left through turn 8, please.
So
drivers left.
That is our race control. Morgan Healy letting everybody know where to keep the cars, to keep out of the way of the workers, keep them nice and safe. Probably also to keep away from some of that debris. It seems almost unfair, Ashley, that so much debris and rocks and everything winds up everywhere at the corkscrew, because, I mean, you can't see the track itself most times, let alone debris.
Yeah, for sure. I know through the corkscrew you actually have to use a lot of outside references just to get through that corner. I know for me, for a long time, it was like a tree way out in the distance. Actually, when I went up there the other day, I noticed a few people sitting around that tree. So,
I've heard stories in the past that there's a tree that had like a ribbon tied around it or things like that. I feel like that'd be a bit scary because someone could easily, if they were in the know, could mess with you on that one and move it to a different tree or something.
no, that's super true. It's funny, when I'm coaching, I coach people to not use reference points that are movable. So, yeah, a ribbon would be one of those, but you almost have to memorize exactly what that tree looks like.
That's a good point. All right. Well, notes for future hopefuls out there trying to get faster on the track. But right now we're waiting to get a little bit faster and get rid of some of this this pacing, because we're already 15 minutes plus 1 lap to go. And we've had, all of about 3 or 4 green flag laps at this point. So these drivers are going to be itching to move. And, I mean, you know as well as anybody, with fewer laps of green, I wonder if that'll up the aggression.
Yeah, you never really know. I know that the top 3 are going to be going at it for sure. If I was Kevin Woods right now, I would just sort of hang back and try to maintain my lead in the Masters class, kind of knowing that those front 3 are going to be fighting pretty hard. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was talking to Jim earlier today, and Jim Walsh, who runs second right now in the Masters, had pointed out that it's going to be difficult for him because not only does he need to try and catch and pass Woods, he has to catch and pass James Safronis, Sam Barnagan, who are not racing in his class. So the difficulty in overtaking here is almost compounded by the multi-class racing that we've got.
Right, and we're learning just by watching this that a lot of the passes have to be very calculated in order to be done well. So in some cases, like I said with Kevin, I would just hang out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think he's got a good result here, a win. I wouldn't say in the bag, but looking likely for him. So we'll see whether or not he can just bring it home from there, or if Jim Walsh is going to manage to somehow sneak his way up there and put a fight on for that win in Masters. Likewise, what's going to happen between James Lee and Blake McDonald in first and second? Looks like lights are out on the pace car if I was seeing right, but he hasn't pulled away. Let's see if he peels in this time and unleashes them. And yes, looks like we are going racing once again. Pace car is in, And that is a very quick start from James Lee this time, not waiting whatsoever. Flies down towards turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin as Kyle Washington looks like he's already on the attack with Jay Barron. Not for class position though, but he does need to get by him to try and make up some of those spots. Unable to do so, it looks like, down into the first corner. I've been told, Ashley, it's very hard going around the outside there.
Yeah, nice clean start here so far. Everyone's spaced out pretty evenly.
Pit official was car 254.
Still looks good so far. Let's see if they can hold on to it. It hasn't been that first braking zone where we've seen the accidents. It's been other spots on the track, and usually on the second or third lap of racing here. 13 minutes left on the clock now, plus 1 lap in this race. And as they come up through turn 6, that looks like a nice healthy gap for James Lee over Blake McDonald once again. He's been commanding this well. Now he's got to bring it home, Ashley.
Looks like Sam Parnagian and James Safronis have a little bit of a battle going on here. Jim Walsh super close behind. Like you were mentioning, I'm sure Jim has an eye on Kevin, which is 3 cars ahead. So a lot of work cut out for him.
And I think I saw Mulcahy back on track, albeit missing what looked like one of his headlights. Thankfully, don't need that for this race. But he's got some work to do. Reinhold Kron also out there having to overtake some of the Caymans to get back to his class of cars. A little bit off track there for one of our 992s coming onto the main straight, but no harm, no foul, just kicked up some dust. And back on his way he goes. Lee continues to lead McDonald with Casey Dennis in behind. RWE looking for a double podium today.
Looks like Jim Walsh got a little bit wide there in turn 2. He's really pushing. That was actually him dropping those wheels in that last corner on the front straightaway as well. So he is definitely pushing, trying to get forward.
Patrick Mulcahy given incident responsibility, so he's got a drive-through penalty. That'll add to his woes. Definitely not going to be enough time if we stay green for him to catch back up and try to pass some cars here. We'll watch and keep an eye on that spot to see what happens.
The entry of turn 11 is clear.
Sounds like we had a car off at turn 11 from race control there, so not sure who was involved in that. May have been the 223 from our track map, it looks like, as he gets going once again. Meanwhile, we're watching up at the top of the hill with cars successfully navigating the corkscrew this time. Jim Walsh and Parnagian going hard for that 6th position. Although Sam is running in the Pro-Ams, Jim is running in the Masters, so that is, again, not for position. Here is Kyle Washington running up the hill in that 232. Right now he's been chasing on, I think that's Joel Cortez in front of him, it looks like.
Yeah, super cool to see the in-car footage of this track. You can see how much elevation is here. Super high speed. Oh, we got a little wiggle there in turn 9, which is not a place you want the car to slide. It's pretty fast and downhill.
Absolutely. And indeed, it is Cortez in front of him that he's trying to catch up to right now. That is for 8th position. But again, another case of Masters and Pro-Am fighting for overall spots here so that they can try to get back to racing with those within their own class. Still hasn't quite managed to make the pass. He's got Luke French behind him. Luke starting much farther down the order today, is jumped up into the top 10.
Sam Parnagian there was right on the tail of James Safronis climbing up the hill and through the corkscrew, potentially trying to set up a pass there. James Lee is pulling away quite a bit from Blake there, 0.8 of a second between him and 2nd and 3rd. So he's doing a nice job of running some clean laps.
223 having another off once again. There you can see them heading into pit lane. Not sure what exactly caused that. They were off in the same place twice, if my memory serves correct. So not a big fan of that portion of the track, apparently. Looks like the 254 has served their penalty now. So Patrick Mulcahy has at least done his time. Now he's got to play catch up with the rest of the field. Down to 9 minutes left on the clock. And they're starting to get a little bit spread out on the track here, Ashley.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a few variations in line here. It looks like they're sort of looking for grip, as we were talking about with the IndyCar rubber down with these Yokohamas. You really have to make sure you're really precise, driving right on the same racing line as the IndyCars do, because if you drive off of that line, there is no grip out there. And so that's what we're kind of seeing here with some of these guys trying to find where that line is.
Drive-through penalty for incident responsibility.
So that's race control saying Kyle Washington also going to be giving a drive-through penalty. The stewards, unfortunately, getting quite busy in this race. A lot of penalties handed out in a short amount of time. I imagine tomorrow's drivers' meeting is going to get maybe a little extra talk.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there for Kyle. He had that incident up in the corkscrew. So it'd be interesting. Kind of looked like he may have had some car damage there as well. So now with this drive-through penalty as well, it's going to make his race a lot more interesting.
That was Jay Barron, by the way, the 223, that looks like he's parked the car and called it a day, unfortunately. And then there you see him on pit lane now, the door open, the crew kind of standing around as well, so they don't seem to be in any sort of hurry to send him back out. I wonder if that's going to be day over for that black and yellow machine. Still no change up at the front. In fact, an impressive run so far from James Lee, Ashley. He's now 1.3 seconds ahead of Blake McDonald. Considering the pace that Blake was showing in practice and qualifying, I expected this to be a bit closer between them.
Yeah, James's last lap was 0.4 of a second quicker than Blake, so James is definitely focusing forward and being super consistent right now, which I'm learning myself is very key with this car.
Side by side between Parnagian and Sofronis. They're going to manage it down through the corkscrew. Almost two wheels off for Sofronis as they now come out of Rainy Curve. He is going to get that spot over Parnagian, actually going to successfully defend that spot, I should say, as he was ahead as they were going through. So great job between them, good respect shown. They'll carry on to fight another day, and well, it looks like fight they will, because Parnagian's not falling off the back of them.
Yeah, Parnagian is ready to pounce on James Sofronis there, but James is not giving it up without a fight. Coming through turn 2 here, super clean run through 2 that time, so I'm sure James is just trying to focus forward and click off some clean laps.
No doubt. He's just outside of the podium in the Pro-Ams, and Kyle Washington has just served his penalty and comes out of the pit lane, so he is in and out and on his way. But Sofronis trying to hold on to that fourth over Parnagian. I kind of wonder if Jim Walsh will start to catch up if they keep fighting too hard, even though they won't have a lot of time. Jim probably wouldn't mind if they got out of his way so he could try and take off after Kevin.
Yeah, you never know what could happen in these races. That's another thing I'm learning, especially if you have a few cars in front of you battling it out. There's always an opportunity ahead of you. It's not over until it's over.
Good words to live by, for sure. As with 5 minutes left to go, it is down to the dying stages. Remember, we have +1 lap in this series as well, so when the clock ticks down to 0, they have to come around one more time to get the white flag for 1 lap signal.
Turn 3 is clear.
This time by James Lee up to now 2.1 seconds, continuing to put impressive time. As Blake McDonald actually set his personal best that lap, and yet still James Lee was 0.2 quicker.
Yeah, nice run here by James Lee. Kevin Woods as well, still leading in the Masters class. He's 4th overall. James Sofronis and Sam Parnagian still battling it out there. They're running 4th and 5th in class. Then we have Jim Walsh is going to be 2nd in the Masters class, running 7th overall.
Also want to give some love to Steve Miller in the 217. The competition motorsports driver is currently on the Masters podium. He might be 10th overall, but he's doing very well. And I don't think we've really talked a lot about Steve so far this season. So this is looking like he is going to have a good result in his hands if he can hold it together here. In fact, this might be Steve's first race this season. Indeed it is.
It's nice to see Josh Conley was able to continue after that big debacle in the corkscrew. He's currently running 11th overall. Eli Kogan still with a big lead in the Cayman class, with Michael Gawke in 3rd and Richard Kinsey running, Michael Gawke in 4th and Richard Kinsey running 3rd.
Indeed, Herback in that 4th position in the number 49 for Black Sheep Racing. Glad they have at least a little representation still out on track now that we've lost Laura Eli. As we watch them coming down through the hairpin once again. And that battle still hasn't separated between Parnagian and the likes of Sofronis. So those here at the track, if you're watching the big screens, Sofronis going to be in the blue and yellow car, Parnagian in the blue and orange machine. That bright orange peels orange on the side. Hard to miss that one. Let's see if he can get just a little bit tighter up to him. Try and attack for that overall 5th position. Love to climb up this hill. Just dramatic elevation change on this track.
Casey Dennis keeping a close eye on Blake there. That'll be for 2nd and 3rd overall.
Gotta imagine he's gonna want to try and make this a 1-2 for the team that Casey runs, essentially. Those are his cars out there, so if he can represent well, that'll make him extremely happy, even if he isn't the winner. You can see the Caymans now being lapped by some of our 992s. And in fact, I think that was Herback kicking up a little bit of dust, trying to make sure and give plenty of leeway. I don't think he's completely out of the woods. Rod Wagner in the 32 still remains uncomfortably close to him. Front of the field, James Lee, 3.1 seconds ahead now. Continuing his impressive march. Not the biggest gap we've seen in this series, certainly, but definitely showing that driver who at one time couldn't seem to catch Blake McDonald, who was dominating up there, is now running away from him. So James has turned over a new leaf, and especially I think back to Utah, where we saw some mistakes here and there from James. He has been, I'd say, I wouldn't say flawless, but I'm trying to think of where we've seen any huge mistakes out of him since then.
Yeah, for sure. And he's definitely growing every single weekend. We're seeing him get better and better and faster each time. And sort of like what I was speaking about earlier, when you're really pushing yourself to that next level, mistakes do happen, which we've seen. But the way he's been handling himself since then and focusing on himself and his growth as a driver, it's really showing today.
Just that, well, no, it wasn't that last lap, excuse me. I was going to say he holds the fastest lap of the race at a 25.5. Last lap about 25.9, but still another 0.4 over Blake McDonald's that last lap, and up to now 3.5 seconds between them. Casey Dennis, though, is about 1.4 seconds off of Blake McDonald, hovering around the rear end of that 208. Making sure he knows he's there. We were talking about Kevin Woods backing off and just letting the race play out. Well, that's kind of exactly what he's done. He's almost 7 seconds actually behind Casey Dennis, but again, he doesn't need to chase him down because that's a different class car. Kevin is very comfortably in the lead as Blake McDonald goes by a bit of our Cayman traffic now. That seems to have helped him out, as looks like he's pulled a bit farther ahead of Casey Dennis. White flag should be given out next time by Ashley. 1 lap to go.
Yeah, right in the midst of catching all of this traffic. Again, super tricky place to pass, so have to be smart when you're racing with multiple classes to not screw up anyone else's race as well.
Or your own.
Right.
Throw this one away. This is not over. I believe coming around the final corner soon here. There it is. White flag is out. James Lee has 1 to go.
Actually, Blake caught James quite a bit that lap. So that traffic is definitely helping Blake. He's down to 1.6 seconds to James, although I don't know if he'll be close enough unless something really crazy happens.
I feel like if he was holding something in reserve, it might be too little too late. That is for sure. But James Lee, maybe he's also just kind of managing things and not taking too many risks with the traffic, knowing that he had that bit of a buffer behind him and knowing that it is difficult to try and overtake at this track.
Ooh, he is catching 3 slower cars, though, so I'm sure Blake is just sort of waiting to see what's going to happen here. So it's really tough to pass through this back section. James is getting held up quite a bit. He's flashing his headlights to let me by because Blake is right behind there. We got 2 Caymans in front of him.
Ooh, this is not looking fun if you're James Lee. Oh, and they wreck. He's going to narrowly avoid the accident. In fact, this holds up.
Oh,
Blake.
and Casey made a move.
Wow. Casey McDonald reading the situation perfectly is going to sneak by. Now, I wonder if they'll count that as legal, considering that was under yellow, and I think that's Greg Herback off in the background. It is chaos at the end of the race as around and to the finish line. Checkered flag being held aloft for James Lee, taking his 3rd win in a row.
Oh my goodness, what an adventure at the end there. As I was saying, you just never know what could happen. Anything could happen at the last minute there. And in my eyes, I mean, goodness, there was so much chaos there. Casey really had no option but to take that inside line. So ultimately, I think it just worked out for him because that was the best path through.
We'll watch and see whether or not race control decides to switch the positions around or not, or if maybe give a penalty since it was an overtake under yellow. But as you said, it was Blake taking avoiding maneuvers, and so was Casey Dennis, so that might be something where it fits within the rules. Good news is it looks like the 49 of Herback got the car going, but bad news is he lost his positions in the process. Winner in the Masters was Kevin Woods in the 294, and Eli Kogan going to win in the number 50 for the Caymans. We got a replay, so let's see if we can detangle what exactly happened here. Galke going to get into Kinsey. Kinsey spins around. Can't really stop the car at that stage. He's trying very hard to.
Oh, Blake just got stuck. And Casey just took the normal line. Definitely a tricky one there.
One of those things is we'll get another angle on it here. I imagine that's got to be so tough knowing you have to make that split decision in the moment, and it's not always, I'm sure, clear which is the right decision.
Right, and I'm sure from Casey's point of view, he wasn't even necessarily paying attention to where Blake was at. He was just trying to get through clean and not crash. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they think of that because the yellow flag was out in that corner.
And big thank you to those at IndyCar who've been helping us bring these wonderful views and replays over the course of the weekend. Great catch from them on what was a fascinating finish to this race. So let's go through the unofficial order of our race here with James Lee taking the overall victory and Casey Dennis going to finish on track in 2nd over Blake McDonald in the Pro-Am class. Then you get to our Masters winner, Kevin Woods. Kind of wonder how close he was to all of that because he probably got a face full of craziness as well. He'll finish 4th overall. James Safronis managing a top 5. Then it's Sam Parnagian in 6th. Jim Walsh on the podium in the Masters, 7th overall. And Joel Cortez finishing in 8th. Luke French winds up climbing all the way to 9th place. And Steve Miller, in his first race, is going to be in 10th. So there is your top 10. For those at home watching on the internet, this is the rest of the field and how they finished. So, well, Ashley, I'd ask your thoughts. It might be a novel, though. What do you think about that one?
I mean, goodness, I would have done exactly what Casey did, to be honest, because you're just trying to get through the mayhem as quickly as you can. And unfortunately, the yellow flag was out. So, again, it really comes down to what race control thinks of that. But, man, from Blake's perspective, too, like he had nowhere to go. He just kind of got stuck there. So, either way, as we were talking about, like you never give up. You don't know what can happen till the very last corner, the very last lap. Anything can happen. So, we'll see.
Let's sit you down as a coach for one of these drivers after what you just witnessed. What's the big thing you're telling your driver after you see all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, this race had quite a bit of incidences. I think a lot of people were racing pretty hard, and at the same time, it was a new experience of being on that IndyCar rubber with the Yokohama rubber as well. So just learning and figuring out where that grip is going to be and being aware of that when you're trying to make these passes is something you always want to think about. And when you're taking those initial laps, warming up your tires, that's a great opportunity during those 2 pace laps to really feel where the grip is at. So if you're trying to overtake, you can make the most of it. But yeah, I mean, overall, if you finish clean, it's good. So
One thing, I've talked to several drivers in different series that have raced on the track since it's been repaved, and they said the grip is terrific if you're on the line, but once you get off the line, the grip degrades considerably.
yeah, that is a thing as well. I mean, most tracks, I've learned myself, when they're freshly repaved, they start to get a groove right on that racing line, and that's where the grip is at. And like you were mentioning, as soon as you go off of that, it's like ice. It's a very big drop in grip level. So just all kinds of things you have to think about in advance.
I'm very glad that we've got Dick Sisich up here with us here this weekend. Very experienced at this track, having worked at Laguna Seca for decades now, and has definitely been imparting that knowledge on us. But our show is not over. If you're at the track, make sure and join us down at the podium ceremonies very soon here with the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama. For those at home watching, stick around on screen because we have more to come for a post-race show.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West weekend with IndyCar at the Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California. Driver of the 209 Black Sheep Racing 992 GT3 Cup. Coming down the front straight, it's wide open in 5th gear. Get to about 140 miles an hour. Stay to the right, get ready for turn 2. Hard on the brakes, downshift to 2nd, double apex. Exit the corner, hard on the gas, upshift, get back to the left. Light braking, stay on the apex, hard on the gas, get ready for turn 4. Maintenance throttle through the middle, use all the track on the left, come across to the right, get ready for turn 5. Downshift to 3rd, stay on the apex, now go up the hill, getting ready for turn 6. Turn 6 a fast left-hander, 4th gear, hit the apex, use all the track on the right, hustle back to the left, upshifting to 5th, hard on the brake for the corkscrew, 2nd gear, double apex, down the hill, hard on the gas, carry your speed through 8, 8A into 9, light on the brakes, use all the track to the right, come back over to the left, hard on the brakes, turn 10's 3rd gear, coming down to turn 11, get to the 3 board, hard on the brakes, stay to the left, hit the apex 2nd gear, and back on the gas to the start finish line, and that's a lap around Laguna Seca Raceway.
It's time for our Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama podium ceremonies, starting off with the Cayman Masters. Finishing in third today, driving the number 49, it's Greg Herbeck. Finishing P2, driving the number 32 today, Rod Wagner. Don't forget, guys, there are stairs on the other side. And our winner in the Cayman Masters, it's the number 28 of Richard Kinsey. Congratulations, Richard. Coming up with you here. That was a bit chaotic at the end. What was your perspective on all that?
Oh gosh, my perspective, I was just driving my tail off, trying to stay alive, and made it through, and it turned out well.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of cautions today. What do you take out of that race into tomorrow?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't involved in those other incidences, thank goodness. But it's easy to get out of sorts here, obviously with all the cars, all the yellows. So I'm going to just try to keep it clean and do the same thing.
It's understandable. I think that's probably a wise way to go about things. That's our winner, Richard Kinsey. Let's hold up those trophies for the cameras. And of course, let's spray some champagne. Am I doing Eli? Am I doing Eli? It's just one car. Oh, yeah. That's our podium finishers for the Cayman Masters. That brings us to our Cayman Pro-Ams. This one, a nice simple one. There was one driver in the category, driving the number 50. Our winner, Eli Kogan. Eli, another great victory in the Pro-Am class, but let's talk about the overall race. We talked a little bit earlier today about your pace seeming good in comparison to others, but you got backed up by those yellows a lot. Did that make you nervous?
A little bit, because I hadn't even got my tires hot on the first yellow, and second yellow I still wasn't up to temp, so I was struggling through the caution laps, just trying to keep things hot and make sure on the restart we had good pace with warm enough tires.
Well, it's looking like it's been a very successful season to you. Best of luck for the rest of it. Our winner for the Pro-Ams, Eli Kogan. Skipping some steps here. Up next is our 992 Masters. Okay. Sure. Okay. Finishing third in the 992 Masters is the number 217 of Steve Miller. Good timing on that one. This is the debut race for Steve. Coming in with a splash, finishing within the top 3. Then finishing in second, driving the number 269, it's Jim Walsh. Jim making up great ground in the championship with another podium. And then we have our winner, driving the number 294, our current points leader, Kevin Woods! Kevin, we kind of joked about how with all the cautions you had cars between you and the rest of your class, and we said, well, maybe you should just take it easy. Did you take it easy?
I did. Yeah, I didn't really need to keep up with the top guys, and it seemed like the Masters guys were way behind me, so I just took it easy to help my spot. Really wanted this first place.
You told me this is a home track for you. Is this one a little bit more special?
Always, yeah. Every time I come here, it's always great because this was the first track I ever drove on. So yeah, it's always nice to win here. It's a great track.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy. Race 1 winner in the 992 Masters is Kevin Woods. Let's hold up those trophies for the cameras. And let's spray some champagne. That was our 992 Masters podium finishers for race 1 this weekend at Laguna Seca. Up next is going to be our Apex Award. This is given to our hard charger of the race. Today, that's going to be the driver of the number 32, Rod Wagner. Rod came home with a second place finish in the Cayman Masters. Congratulations to Rod. This now brings us to the 992 Pro-Ams, our overall podium. Finishing third in the number 208 today, Blake McDonald. Then in second, It's the number 274 of Casey Dennis with a last lap pass.
Woo!
And making it a 1-2 for RWE. The number 255 takes his third win in a row, James Lee.
Yeah!
James, congratulations on the victory. As I mentioned, your third race in a row that you've taken a win here in the USA West Series. It looked like you had to work for it because you didn't quite take the pole position. Did you know you had it in you to both pass and outpace Blake?
Not quite, but I just was going to play it by ear. It's my second time racing at this track. The car was great and the weather is beautiful here, so whether or not I got it, I just knew I was going to have a good time.
It seemed like there were some mistakes early in the season, but you somehow turned things around. What really has changed for you?
Pretty much just understanding the car a little better myself. I mean, the team has been amazing and super receptive to any type of changes I want. So it mainly had to come from me.
I like that. That's going to be our winner. And the overall podium, James Lee for the 992 Pro-Ams.
Trophies up, guys.
Hold those trophies up high. And for the last time today for Porsche Sprint Challenge, let's spray some champagne! That's our podium ceremonies here for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:40 a.m. for race 2.